Hello, beautiful, and welcome back to another episode of Beautiful I Am Colored. My name is Evelyn, and I'm the author of the book Beautiful I Am Colored, as well as the creator of this podcast. As always, thank you so much for joining me again this week to hear more insights and perspectives that I've gained from my week. This week is different than the other weeks. I feel a heavy pull this week, and I'm not sure who today's message is for, but today is Thursday because I typically record a few days before I post so that I can have enough time to edit. And literally yesterday, while I was on a road trip, everything downloaded to me to talk about for today. So stay tuned for that in just a moment. Today's topic: resisting and aborting purpose. I'll be right back. Okay, so before I get into today's topic, I always like to start out with a segment I call shout outs and thank yous. And that's just a moment where I give a person, place, thing, or idea a shout out and share why that was a blessing to me during the course of my week. So this week's shout out and thank you goes to, and I was looking down at my notes here, choice and accepting of change. So I will give you an example, as always. So this week has been some kind of week. To be honest with you, it's not been horrible, but I definitely had a few days there where I was definitely battling negative thoughts, like for like probably 2 or 3 days, just really having to like reframe, refocus multiple times. And so that was really hard. So this particular day, I was running an errand and I wanted, there's a tea that I like at a coffee shop. And so I was at the drive through. There was someone in front of me, but I could tell like they were really struggling. When I say struggling, I mean, there were no other cars in front of this person. And the car was just kind of like sitting between the drive up window and the intercom area. And I was already kind of frustrated, so I was like, what is this person doing? Like, do you not see you can go ahead and go up? And so the person finally goes up. I place my order, but I'm laughing because something funny happened. I mean, to me it wasn't funny as in ha ha funny, but just the irony of it just made me laugh out loud. And so I apologized to the person taking my order. I was like, I'm so sorry for laughing. And then even the person who took my order was like, yeah, we're having a day today. And I was like, okay, no, I'm not gonna set the tone for my day like this. I know that I have the power to change the trajectory of my day. So like what can I do? So so while I'm doing that, placing my order and making my way up, I see the same car in front of me now at the checkout window, really struggling, like dropping the money on the ground, opening up the car door because the person needed to pick up the money. And I overheard, because our windows were down, I overheard the person say that something to the effect of, this day couldn't get any worse, or something negative, basically. And so when I said that, I was like, man, I've been feeling kind of irritated today too. And I'm like, no, 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 no. We're not going to fall into that trap. What we're going to do is change this. So I made up in my mind right there. And this is not the first time I did something like this. I like to do random acts of kindness. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to pay for the person behind me because we have to change the trajectory of this day. And the way that you can do that is by countering with a different action. And so I got up to the window and, I was still smiling, and the person who took my order was kind of like, yeah, I'm not sure what was going on with that person. I was like, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. We all have days, and I'm going to pay for mine, and I also want to pay for whatever the person, ordered behind me. We're going to change this day, and we're going to make somebody's day by blessing them today. And just that little act, like, it really shifted like my day. It shifted how I was thinking and reframed it. And I started to feel good because I was feeling so like kind of low, to be honest. And frankly, I really didn't have a reason to be low. Like I was waiting to hear back on a job I had applied for, and it was taking a little bit longer And by long, I mean 2 business days, which is not long at all. But you want to know. And so anyhow, that made my day. And so I'm just incredibly grateful that I realized that I have the power to change things. And if there's something in my power to change, then I can make a decision and a choice to be a positive impact on myself as well as others. And so, but it does take that awareness and knowing of self in order to do that. So I'm so thankful that I had the opportunity to bless someone this week in the coffee line. Anyhow, today's video might be a little bit longer. Video podcast might be a little bit longer than normal because so much got downloaded to me yesterday, but I'm going to work through it. So we're going to dive right into our topic next. Okay, so today's topic again, resisting and aborting purpose. Um, I kind of yesterday, when the topic came to me, anytime I feel that overwhelmed, I know that there's someone out there who needs me to channel a message. And so because I am very intentional, and as you know, if you've been listening to me for the past several months on the podcast, and now for the past several weeks on YouTube, then you know how important it is for me to be intentional about everything I do. And so, because this is I feel such a heavy weight on this topic for some reason, I want to start in just grounding this particular message in prayer, which will not be new to listeners who have been listening to me since February, but it may be new to you too. But I just want to lift up a quick prayer. Honestly, it's for selfish reasons for myself, just to make sure that I say all the things that I need to say to get the message out. So, God, I just thank you for trusting me with this message for the week. I pray and believe that whomever needs to hear it hears it in the time that they need to, that they have ears to hear what I'm saying behind the words, and that you will give me the insight that I need to deliver it in a way that translates no matter the background of the person it is intended for. Amen. Okay, so resisting purpose. So, y'all know I like to talk really about myself as an example. And I will tell you that I definitely think there have been times throughout the course of my life where I have resisted purpose. Um, I think probably what I'm doing right now in terms of this podcasting probably maybe is one of the single most purposed things that I've done in my life thus far. Um, just because I have a clear understanding of what the intent is. And so, with that being said, I wanted to share with you why sometimes I have been resistant in a specific area to purpose. So, for me, it's inspiring others. I like to bring hope. I like to for people to know that you can make it, you can do it. There's a lot of stuff going on in this world, but at the end of the day, there are so many people who have overcome amazing challenges, and you're no different. And so you can too. And so to me, I know that that is part of my purpose of my spirit that is here. And I think in the past, I've been resistant to trying to figure out how to deliver it or how to walk in purpose. One, because I grew up Christian, to be honest with you. And while I've gained a lot from being a Christian in the past, I will also say that it does present the opportunity for you to be boxed in. So, what do I mean by that? So, for example, like you guys know that I used to go to church a whole lot. I no longer go to church anymore, and maybe that's another topic for another video. But there are certain honestly rules. Even if you are in a non-denominational Christian environment, there are certain rules, spoken and unspoken, that exist within this church. So I really never felt like whatever was in me that the church was the place for it. um And honestly, I know that I'm no different than a lot of other people who think that same way. The church is just not the place for your particular message. My message is a bit more broader. I'm also tapped into other things, not just Christianity, that help me, including, like academics and science and things like that. And the church didn't allow for me to present, I don't think, in a way, nor did it train me really. To present in a way that is translatable across multiple backgrounds and multiple different types of people, who may be non-Christian and not necessarily aligned with my faith and doctrine. With that being said, um, so I think there was a lot of hesitancy associated with, when I hear the still small voice. You guys know I call it my first mind. Some people call it the Holy Spirit. But when I would hear things, I would doubt it a lot. Like, I would know I heard it when I heard something, like it'll just be just so quiet, you know, to tell you, like, don't go left, go right kind of thing. And because I didn't have confirmation from someone else, and typically like from somebody in the church or from a parent or from someone who I looked up to, then I would shrink away and shrink back from doing what I thought I heard. And so a moment on listening to the still small voice. What I found so far in life is that when the still small voice tells you something, the message is for you. And a lot of times we do look for cosigners and we want to tap, how can I say this? And we want to get advice from other trusted people. And I think there are scenarios where you need to do that. But the truth of the matter is that it came to you. You are the one who heard the message. You are the one who received, it wasn't like you and your logical brain. It came from somewhere. And yet, in my particular case, like I resisted it. I resisted for a long time, like even like the writing of my book, for example, right? Like, one, it was very difficult to write because there's a lot of traumatic things that I talk about in it. But then two, a lot of it was just like, man, who's gonna read my book? Who's gonna buy a book for me? So just second guessing things. When the truth of the matter is that I already had heard that I should write a book. Yes, my grandmother, and if you read my book, or have listened to me read my book aloud on the podcast months ago, then my grandmother was very influential in encouraging me to write the book. But I said all that to say a lot of times, fear grips us and holds us back. And so therefore we sit on our gifts and our talents. And I'm going to warn y'all right now because I can just feel myself getting worked up a little bit. So this might be a teary one. But what I need to say to you is that it is so very important right now because there is only one you. There is only one you made up of all the cells. And I think I even have a phrasing or two, a sentence or two in my book about this. There is only one you. You are purposed for a very specific and unique assignment. And so my question to you would be, if you don't do it, then who is here on this earth to do that? Who is here on this earth to do a beautiful I'm colored when the beautiful I'm colored came to me? That was entrusted to me. And so I have to walk in it. And another thing is, a lot of times when we resist purpose, like we feel a pull and like we don't really know all of the details associated with what that work will particularly look like. And that's different, I realize, for all of us. But fear sometimes can make you become stagnant to the point where you start something and then it gets a little bit difficult and then you put it on the shelf for whatever amount of time and you don't look at it again. Or you take it back down and then you get discouraged, or life happens and you just stop. I don't know why right now because I do hear things and you can just go with me or not. But I do hear things and I'm telling you, there is something in this season right now to where if You heard the still small voice tell you to do something. Like, you weren't thinking, you weren't conjuring it up, you weren't researching, you weren't anything. Something just came to you. Then it is in your very best interest to go ahead and follow through with whatever came to you. Don't question and don't think about the resources and all of that. Don't think about it. Okay, I don't want to get preachy. When you hear instruction and the still small voice tells you to do something, oftentimes the activating component to being able to see more is taking a step. What do I mean by that? Okay, I'm going to use myself again. So, y'all know I wrote the book, Beautiful I'm Colored. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. Okay. I just heard, right, go ahead, it's time to write the book. And so when I started being intentional and consistent in writing and writing and writing, different things were illuminated. It's kind of like taking a path, and I think I've said this before on the podcast, but it's kind of like taking a path in a very dark room. The steps are only illuminated, the next step, when you take an action, like a motion forward or a motion to the left or right to see whatever that next thing is. And so purpose is a lot like that. And so, how can I say, if you heard the still small voice and it told you whatever, for me it was, one of the things was write my book. I took that step, and then I would meet a person. I took that step, and then I would come across a video that was the very thing that I needed. I took a step. Oh, wow, this piece of equipment is actually 50% off. Oh, wow, we actually already had that in the house to use. So you see where I'm going with this. The bottom line is you have to take the action and you have to follow through because it came to you. I cannot stress this enough. It came to you. So you have to be the one to deliver on it. Because if you don't, then we're looking at potentially an aborted purpose. And I don't know why that specific of a word came to me, but what I do know is that aborting things means that we kill them off, right? We stop it. And I don't know the answer to this, but I'm wondering, and this is more rhetorical, I'm wondering if you heard something. You heard this still small voice lead you and say, you need to do this or you need to do that. And it could be a small task or it could be a ginormous task that you don't even know how in the world it's going to even happen. If you don't do it, does it actually get done? Does somebody pick up that purpose? I don't know. Okay. That's not for me to figure out. And that's not what was downloaded to me this week. The most important point this week is that if I am talking to you and you have been resisting purpose, you have been resisting the next step, you must, you must take the action step because there are so many people waiting. It's interesting because I've noticed on YouTube there's a lot more people coming on talking about being chosen, and and they have a very strong message, and I will include myself in that. And so it's a lot of people waking up to that point. um and so your audience is there. It may not be this particular method of delivery. It may be a nonprofit. It may be running for a political office. It may be whatever, going back to school. I don't know what that is for you, but what I am here to tell you is that you should do it. I'm encouraging you, not telling you. I'm encouraging you. Just do it. Take the step. Take the step. And then write me and let me know what the step is, because I kind of want to know, because this was just too heavy on me for this week for me to let this go. Write me, beautiful.iamcolored@gmail.com. I want to hear about it because I just think it's so important. I know that when I come across some person that has a message and it's like right there, I've been in tears before watching an old video, but it spoke to me. It was for me. And so it's up to you to be that person for somebody else as well. Um, and so that's the first part. So, this next part I want to talk about and touch on briefly is when you know you're purposed, when you know, like you've heard the still small voice. Essentially, you feel like you've been chosen. Okay, and I'm saying this too for myself. Like I actually know that I've been chosen to do a very specific work, and so one of the things that has been critical for me in order to be able to hear more and to be able to um how can I say this, have more insight, has been to weed out the things that block your channel. And by channel, it's just a pathway for you to hear. And so, for example, being quiet, right? Like I like to sit in silence whenever I get the chance, to be honest with you. Because in silence, you're left with, self, and you can hear a lot more clearly. Another way to do that is to um, like go on a fast, and I'm not trying to be churchy or nothing like that, but I'm just saying a fast is been known scientifically to be really good for you. So those of you who have been listening to me know that I have been fasting from alcohol, or was fasting from alcohol. It's definitely cutting back drastically from my normal consumption. And when I did that, it's one of those things. I was talking to my brother and sharing with him about like how I was feeling. And it's one of those things that you don't know you're in a fog until you come out of a fog. And so that may be something to consider, for you. Or even smoking. So in Colorado, many of you know that marijuana is legal. So a lot of people do it. And there's a myriad of ways that you can do it. But what I do want to say about that is maybe thinking through why we're consuming and feel the need to be numbed to life. And what I can say about myself is sometimes it was just for social or just for enjoyment. But if I really were to pull apart the root cause of the why for certain actions or behaviors, um, is really to get to a numbing effect. And that numbing can come in a host of ways. It could be watching, you know, I'm not just talking about watching a show for enjoyment. Of course, I watch shows for enjoyment, but I'm saying like hours upon hours upon hours of watching something that's not feeding you mentally, spiritually, physically, even, and dedicating that. So think about what you can do to be a conduit for the message to come through you in a clear and more consistent way. Another one for me is working out. Like I'm one of those people that loves cardio. I'm not a small person, y'all know that by now. So I'm not a small person, but I do love cardio, and I just always feel very good after I've had a really good sweat. Plus sweat, sweats out those toxins. And so in this little short segment part, I just wanted you to consider what things may need to be cut off or cut back so that you can hear what you need to hear if you believe that you've been chosen or purpose for a specific thing. And then finally, as you all know, I like to leave you with an encouraging word every week. And this week, I just want to encourage you to stop resisting purpose. Just stop. Just instead of resisting it, which is very hard to do, especially if you have a very big pull on your life. Um, Instead of doing that, lean into purpose. Take that action step I was talking about earlier. Do something that's targeted towards the illumination of the next step so that you can honestly feel like how I feel. And I'm going to share this quick little testimonial here, and then I'm going to close out. But earlier this week, I had the privilege and honor of sitting with a newfound friend in my community, and we were just talking about grandmothers. And I actually like cried with her. I didn't anticipate crying with her, but I did. And I ended up talking about Beautiful Lime Colored, and I got overwhelmed because I I was sitting there so thankful because for like maybe the first time, I know that I'm walking in purpose, and that makes my heart so full. And here's the encouraging piece too. At this time, there's not a dollar amount attached to what I do every week at all. And that's not the overarching goal at all either. But oh my God, the satisfying feeling that I feel and peace within myself to know that I've done what I heard, I followed through with it, I'm being consistent in it. I'm just so grateful and honored. And I desire for you who are listening to me to walk in your purpose so that you can have that peace as well, as we navigate all of the changes that we're facing in our country and our world. Okay, I think that is all that I have within me to share for this week. As always, it has been such an honor to come before you. I pray that this message translated and got to the person that it needed to get to. In the meantime, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, of course, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. And as always, I want you to remember the future you and others is waiting on you. Until next time, beautiful. Have a great week, everyone.